I'm out and about again today after what feels like quite a long time actually. I have been places, just haven't done much filming lately. But here we are, I am up in the Garw Valley today, following some footpaths that I've never been on before. And I wanted to talk today about some of the advantages of being retired, especially retired early. I'm 59, retired when I was 56, and the first couple of years of my retirement were pretty awful, and I've gone through those stories a few times before, but really since last autumn I've had a lot more freedom than ever in my life to get out, start exploring and find me. Just a tiny mini waterfall behind me, which is quite surprising with all this drought at the moment. It's quite surprising to see any water bubbling. Yeah, we're in old industrial landscapes today that are now back to nature. So yeah, the last few videos I've done have been about the financial aspects of retiring early and managing budgets, but I thought today let's do something positive. Let's talk about, for me anyway, one of the main reasons I wanted to retire early, and that was to spend more time exploring, out and about. Oh, another little mini cascade of water, beautiful. Yeah, just spend some time, and as my situation has developed and I'm now happily single, I've got more opportunity to do the things that I like to do, and that's really lovely. But the main focus for today is the opportunity being retired early has given me to explore my curiosity and to keep on learning. I don't know about you, but I quite enjoyed school days. I quite enjoyed learning, well, at least some subjects. I loved English, maths tolerable, and I actually enjoyed the sciences like physics because it was logical, it made sense. Once you understood a formula or a law, everything made complete sense, and maths was a bit like that as well. I wasn't so good at the abstract things like art and music. I did try, but those subjects kind of passed me by. And languages was another. Really struggled with French, and I'm ashamed to say Welsh as well. I think these are old, I don't know whether it's diverted rivers for washeries or what they'd have been when coal was being mined in these valleys, which in the late 1970s I went to school in this valley, and there were still collieries here then. There were still pithead wheels, and yeah, landscape massively changed, even in these drought times. Lovely and green up here. So yeah, formal education, I did reasonably well at O-levels. A-levels I struggled, mainly because I knew I wanted to be a nurse, and in those days you didn't need your A-levels, so I kind of did them because I didn't need to do them, but I lost the impetus a bit because I didn't need to do it, didn't enjoy them. And I did my nursing, failed the exams first, fell out of love with nursing quite early on actually. And then in my later nursing years, I did take up study again. I did my nursing degree eventually in the heady subject of clinical governance. So more of a sort of a management degree really, which led me nowhere. And I never did the honours component. I only did the sort of the, I think I did it in a year actually. So it was the theory and the assessment stage. Really beautiful scenery here. Hope you're loving this. It's the town of Garw and Pontycymer down there. So yeah, that was my formal education days over. And then it was mainly the studying I did was for my job, my career, which was in sales. So you very regularly had to do little product learnings and a lot of face-to-face exams, being tested on your product knowledge and your sales skills. So that was obviously my days as a salesperson for medical products. This looks like there's some old pit machinery up here. Definitely some old foundations of something. And these little mini wheels are definitely a clue. So I coasted along for most of my career. There's a little signboard down here. So let's explore what that says. And a carving of a giant acorn. I think that's mainly all about the wildlife that we can expect to see. But yeah, very much old industrial landscape. But I'm following little arrows for a cycle path, I believe. Yeah, so passed most of my career doing the essentials, you know, what I had to do to get on. Then when I turned 50, and I remember I was already into my FIRE process. I knew I'd made the decision I wanted to retire at 55. So this was very late in my career. But I changed tack a little bit. Previous to that, I'd worked in medical device sales, which meant wound care dressings, beds, mattresses, that sort of thing. And then I had an opportunity, sort of more subcontracting, shorter contracts, which at that time suited me a lot better because there was a lot less company politics in it. But in order to do that job, I needed to pass a big exam. It's called the ABPI. So ABPI, just letters. And it was a qualification you have to have in order to promote pharmaceutical products. So that's more drug related. And you're bound by a very tight ethical standard. You're very much governed on what you can say and what you can't say. And very much part of that was you are not allowed to promote pharmaceutical drugs here in the UK to members of the public. Only people qualified to prescribe. So this exam was pretty intense, probably one of the toughest exams I've ever done. And a lot of pharmaceutical knowledge, as you can imagine. And I was 50 and I kind of wanted to prove to myself that I could still learn. I, at that point, was living on my own. I had my teenage daughter around, but she was often out of the house. She was driving by then. My son was already in his own house. Wasn't married then. So I had lots of time to study. And I really enjoyed the process. I made all these little mind maps over the house and really dedicated myself to it. And I was thrilled that I passed at the age of 50. I thought that was quite an accomplishment because it was a very tough exam. And not only did I pass, I got a distinction. So that went on my CV. super, super proud of it. And that's the last formal education I did. But I was, and I still am proud that I managed to get that. And it means I could, in theory, get a job in pharmaceutical sales, because I am now sort of licensed, if you like. I've got an ABPI qualification. Not that I intend to do that. But going back to early retirement, I still have a thirst for learning. Not so much the formal exams and things, but just a desire to learn. And I really do think, for me, that's been very important. In the early days of my retirement, I'd started this channel, never having edited a video in my life. I started off very, very basic with the app on my phone, iMovie I think it was. Some very, very basic cuts and transitions. And because I'd started this YouTube channel, I wanted to learn. I used to love watching videos where people had done these gorgeous filters and lovely transitions and text on screen. And again, I very much applied myself to learning how to do that. I watched endless YouTube and Instagram tutorials. I paid for courses. I did a lot on places like Udemy, where you can pay for a course and then you get sent loads of presentations and things. And those were really useful as well. Took books out to the library. Didn't learn very well from books, found them very hard to follow, much prefer watching. And that first year of COVID, I went back to college. I took the step of joining my local college, and it was for kids who, instead of going to sixth form, they go to college. And I did this media course because I thought it was going to teach me editing. Of course, we were still in the middle of all the lockdowns and COVIDs and things. It was November 2020 and I loved it. I really did enjoy it. I think the lecturers were pleased to have somebody who was interested in the subject, but the class was full of kids who kind of thought I was a real weirdo. I probably did look a weirdo, fully grown adult joining teenagers in the classroom. I didn't actually learn an awful lot. Some of the lectures were very good, and I learned more about the sort of storytelling elements and how films are made, but not much about editing. But I did enjoy improving my editing skills, and there is definitely a progression of the videos I've done on this channel from the very beginning to further on. But the irony is now I don't use any of those skills anymore. I spent, oh gosh, months learning Final Cut Pro because I've got a Mac, and I bought Final Cut Pro, learned how to use it painstakingly. And of course technology moves on, and now we've got AI, and I use an app that really doesn't require an awful lot of skill at all, and it's so much quicker, and I'm embracing it. I love it. But I don't think those months were wasted because it kept my brain going. I think that's so important. When you're not in a formal workplace any longer and you don't have anyone breathing down your neck to do things or progress your skills, it's just so easy to opt out. And I don't want to let brain rot creep in. It's a really lovely path ahead of me, and it's nice and quiet up here. Yeah, this is quite nice. Yeah, I'm all for embracing technology, and I know a lot of people are very anxious about AI. And I'm not. I mean, it obviously needs controlling, but I do embrace it. I do remember, I'm sure most of us are old enough to remember computers when it moved from being something you studied in school with all these weird programming languages you had to learn, which I never did well with, to having PCs at home and then Windows. And people opted out. A lot of people kind of said, oh, computers are going to take jobs, and I'm not having anything to do with it. The older people I work with were like that. That's hard to believe now. But yeah, that was life in the 90s. And then a little bit later on, it's really boggy here, early 2000s, we had the internet. And again, I was an early adopter of the internet. I embraced online shopping. I remember Amazon, when it first came out, you could buy books and music online. I think Iceland were the first supermarket where you could do an online shop. So I bought the biggest computer at the time with a great big monitor on it. And I really enjoyed that. And again, people were, oh, internet, I'm not having anything, oh, it's a really bad thing, that is. And look at us now. How could any of us function anymore, really? There are some people who do, but it's so much part of our everyday life. And I watch my grandson, who's 4, the way he handles technology, the way he can pick up his iPad, and he knows his way around it. He knows which buttons to press, which I think I'm pretty good at, sort of basic technology, but he's way ahead of me. So I think you either embrace this technology, recognise its limitations, or you become a bit of a Luddite and you say, no thanks, it takes jobs. I just think the future's going to be different. I remember computers, we were promised that jobs are going to vanish, we're going to have much more leisure time. And that hasn't materialised. And I don't imagine AI is going to do away with the need for jobs either. But ignore it at your peril, I think. So, yeah, my learning now, currently 2026, isn't so much in learning editing skills anymore, but I am using AI to learn better personal management of finances and things, household budgeting, and mentioned before about my website. It's not really something I promote at the moment because it is very clunky and needs more work. But I am looking forward now, when the autumn comes, to doing more on it. And definitely AI helps me a lot in that regard. So I'm loving the social media that I'm learning, like this channel, my ASMR channel, and TikTok. I've mentioned before about the income streams that I want to make from it. And whilst the income is going to be amazing, it is amazing, I don't depend on it. And I think that's the difference. Some people have criticised me saying, well, you're not retired if you're looking to make income on social media. And I've gone through my finances so many times, but I think the income I hope to get, the increased income, it's not absolutely necessary. I could manage without, but I think it's what drives the income. It's the engagement from people. I get enough messages, especially from the ASMR work that I do, from people saying how much they appreciate it and how much it's helped them. And that's why I think earning money from social media, it's not all about the massive amount of likes and, you know, the money that you earn, how many followers you've got, etc. It's more the productivity, the doing something that helps someone else. And by earning money from either advertising or from some of the custom work I do, I think that income is healthy. It's an exchange. I'm not robbing anyone. I'm not defrauding anyone. Not engaging in fraud or looking out to scam anyone. I think money is an energy. It's a transaction for doing something and getting something in return, and I'm absolutely all for that. So whilst I am pursuing social media as an income, I still call myself retired. It's the point I started this video off with, is how being retired early has given me the freedom and the time to do this, to develop, to keep learning. Aside from the learning though, because I know it's not everyone's cup of tea, and a lot of people can't think of anything worse than putting themselves out there, and I get that. It's not for the faint-hearted, definitely. It can be quite hurtful reading some of the comments I get, but equally it is a minority. Most of the people comment are very lovely. Quite high up now. I can see another little sculpture over here of a bird. Love how quiet it is. I love these trees. Another sculpture. And I did bring a picnic with me. I called in the co-op on the way up, and as I say, I don't normally eat sandwiches, but I really fancied one today. And keep climbing, see if I can find somewhere suitable to sit and have a little cheese sandwich. So yes, social media, it's not for everyone. Totally get that. But even if I never did another video for social media, I know I wouldn't stop wanting to learn, and as well as like formal learning processes and technology stuff, I think learning is learning about yourself. I've certainly been doing a lot of that in the last, well, less than 12 months, 8 months. And the content of some of my videos is very much related to what I'm learning about myself. I've just been climbing up and up and up. I thought around this corner there'll be somewhere to sit and have my picnic, and there just hasn't been anywhere. So I think I've gone as high up as I'm going to go. Beautiful view across the valley there. And I've stopped beside this beautiful Christmas tree. Really lovely. So yeah, I definitely got my heart pumping today, which is no bad thing. So just to round off this video, aside from, as I said, the income side and the technology, learning to me is learning about myself, learning how to be a better human, because I think we can all do that. The least we can do while we're on this mortal coil, learn to be better to each other, to work together more, less division, and on a more personal level for me, as I said before, the curiosity, learning about the world around me, near and far. I'm just loving my trips on the train, in the camper van, going off and just exploring places close to home like this. I've never been on this mountain before, and it's just lovely. There's so much lovely things around us to explore. I never want to lose my curiosity. I'm discovering over the last year how, well, more than 1 year, but really developing it in this last year, how important it is for me to get out, explore and follow my curiosity. Taking books out, going to the library, taking books out that lead to new interests. I do love that. I really don't want to stagnate and sit at home in front of the TV or say, well, I'm retired now, I want to take it easy. While I've still got my health, while I've still got my mobility, I really want to make the most of this. That would be a massive regret to me if I suddenly was no longer able to do it. I would have regret about the things I hadn't done when I could. So it's easy to make excuses why you can't. This costs money, etc. This today has cost nothing except the fuel up here, and yeah, okay, I bought a £4 meal deal. And yeah, no guilt about that either. So I'd love to know what you are all doing with retirement, or if you're not retired yet, what you plan to do. Because I think a lot of us, myself included, before I retired, I had plans what we were going to do when we retired, and it was very much about going off to Europe in the camper van. And I still haven't done Europe, but I am getting out and exploring. And I think if you're some way off retirement, I would urge you to not put too much off for retirement. Start doing it in micro doses now while you can. So many have pointed out in the comments that tomorrow is not a given, and I just never did want to put off too much for retirement, but now I'm here, I don't want to keep putting off for other reasons. I do have a major reason for putting off a lot of travel at the moment. Particularly, I would love to do another interrail trip, and the only thing stopping me at the moment is my dog Teddy. She's 14, as I've said before. She's diabetic and she is definitely getting frailer now. And I can come out and leave her in the house for a couple of hours, like today. I know she could never go on the train with me. I know dogs are allowed, but it would really stress her out. She's loving her food. You know, that's about the only time of the day now that she wakes up is food times. And at food time, she bounces around and, you know, barks, nags for her food, devours her food. So I'm not worried in that sense. But pretty much the rest of the day now, she sleeps. If somebody comes to visit, she gets up, has a little wander over and sits with them. But yeah, she's just failing. And yeah, I just want to be around her now. I don't want to leave her with anyone. It is the really, really hardest part of having a pet, is when they do get to that stage where you're thinking, at what point am I keeping her for me? At the moment, I think she's still got quality of life. She's still loving her food. She's sleeping well. She doesn't give the impression that she's in any pain at all. But yeah, it's just, you know, she's coming to the end now, really. Yeah, but let me know, what are you planning to do? Or what are you doing? What are you making the most of in these wonderful retirement years? And I will get myself down this mountain safely. There's some horse flies around here. I definitely want to avoid them. And I'll see you on the next video.